They came up with fancy definitions of Britannica, I don't know what, but I, as the deputy leader of the opposition, say that overhauling is something called dismantling. They talked about where we got the source. It's just simple. It's the Oxford Dictionary. They talked about it provided, the first speaker, first of all, this side, you see this side, the first speaker, talking about we need a change. This first speaker came and explained our burden. She was actually supporting our side. Our side, you see, we are talking about not completely dismantling the formal education in Tanzania. What we are arguing for, our burden, is to say that we need to improve those areas where there is loopholes. This side came and explained our burden by framing their arguments in a way that it could be supporting our side. And by the matter, in fact, the first speaker and the second speaker, they are talking about the same thing. They are always talking about the same thing, about improving the changes. This is our burden. They are explaining our burden, our part of the case. Where we state by our cornerstone, we state that we believe that maximum improvements is possible through reforms, not a total overhaul.
POI?
Not taken. You see, coming to the second speaker points, eliminating a curriculum mismatch. She talked about overhauling these places where there is needed changes, but that is not overhauling. Overhauling, I said, it is the total dismantling of the educational system in Tanzania. This, what they are actually explaining, is targeted reforms, whereby they fill those areas where there is loopholes. So they are actually supporting our side again via panel. Coming to my arguments, gradually the targeted reforms are more practical and sustainable. To improve the Tanzania system of education, we need targeted reforms, as whereby our side will be looking at those places where we need changes. We could be filling those places whereby the system of this current generation is lacking. Their side was supposed to, my leader of opposition came and explained the burden of their side, whereby he talked about the total dismantling of the system of education, whereby we are not actually supporting the total dismantling of the system of the education in Tanzania. What we are actually supporting is that we fill those areas where we see that this place is actually lacking. We are talking about the areas, if we eliminate, we overhaul this current system of educational system, what will be left of those students who are actually in that system? It will be a lost generation. How do you explain that, dear proposition? Many Tanzanians face problem of teacher training, lack of infrastructure. Overhauling the system will actually widen that loophole, whereby we will actually not be taking a step forward, we'll actually be taking a step backward, because we'll be actually facing a lot of financial crisis from this system. For this, we need to put targeted reforms such as updating training programs, improve the resource allocation, and curriculum revisions. Even in the most countries whereby they have high financial capability, they can't afford the total overhauling of the system of the educational system of their country. Actually, the country like Liberia attempted this targeted approach of the overhaul system of their education, but it actually backfired on them. It actually led to that country in that century to have a lot of major drawbacks. Even in the most developing countries such as Rwanda, they use these targeted reforms. As we at the opposition side, we are always talking about the targeted reforms. These targeted reforms, they help these people without actually enlarging the loophole of this education system. So the financial burden to these developing countries will be reduced. This because, as I said in the beginning, even the most developed countries can't afford to wipe out the whole system of education and bring a new one straight right in without incurring a financial loss. Coming to my second argument is a total overhaul is logistically and financially unfeasible. As I said, Tanzania lacks the institutional and logistical capacity to carry out a full education system overhaul. We are not talking about dismantling. We are always, our side, we are saying that we should fill those places where we need change. The process of overhauling, as I said, it requires vast funding, the nationwide coordination, reliable infrastructure, whereby in this position of our country as the developing country, we actually currently lack. So going through the process of overhauling, as I said, the meaning of overhauling is actually dismantling the whole education system. This can lead to the major problems in our country. That money could be used in other sectors, whereby these sectors, as I said, it could be updating the training programs, providing various education curriculum revisions, whereby it could actually slowly and encouragingly put that system in a better way without hurting the current generation in that position. As I said, how do the proposition side turn to my question, whereby if you overhaul that education system, what about the people who are actually in that current education system? Will there be a lost generation? Actually, overhauling this process at once will actually lead to mismanagement and corruption, as it requires a nationwide coordination. And in a country whereby it is actually starting to make a step forward, it will actually backfired. As I said, even Liberia tried this kind of system of overhauling, but it actually failed. You see, countries like Rwanda put targeted reforms, as whereby these targeted reforms help to feed the place where the education system lacks. So it actually brings more good than harm. So we are always talking about the targeted reforms and not completely dismantling the education system of our country. So what happens if the people in the education system are actually not the one which are supposed to be in? This side is talking about dismantling. They're always talking about dismantling. But I say to you, targeted reforms, this is the targeted approach to the right solution for the right problem. If we don't follow this, people could be in major problems. So I finish by stepping in my cornerstone. We believe that maximum improvement is possible through reforms, not a total overhaul. I rest my case.